Welcome to Illini Drive on 107.1 WPGU. I'm your host, Brendyn Jones. I was going to say joined as always. Not joined as always. I'm not even usually here. I'm not even hosting usually when I am here. Gabby cannot be in studio today, so it is me and Josh. Josh is on the producing table. Josh, how you feeling today?
Dude, I'm pretty good. The day got a lot better this morning when I got some good Chicago Bulls news for the first time in a while besides the Billy Donovan hire.
Yeah. So let's just jump right into that. So this morning, probably around like 11:30, I want to say.
I think definitely before that.
I was shopping. I needed to buy a tie. So I was shopping. So early this morning anyway, got the alert that the Bulls had decided to reach an agreement with the Orlando Magic to trade Nikola Vucevic for Wendell Carter Jr., Otto Porter, and 2 future first-rounders. That one is this year, first-round pick, and 2023.
You forgot Al-Farouq Aminu, too.
Oh, and Al-Farouq Aminu comes with Nikola Vucevic on that deal. Definitely not a player that you can just kind of skip over in that Al-Farouq. So let me just give my little hot take on this one, and then, Josh, I'll take it away because I know you're excited about this. I really like this trade. I think that you could argue since, 2013, 2014, maybe even a little after, depending on if you want to call Pau Gasol a power forward or a center, the Bulls have not had really good center play, really since the prime days of Joakim Noah, 2012, 2013. And that's really something that they've been missing this whole year is, I would say, like a really good defensive approach, and then somebody that they can really lock down the 5 position, as Larry Markkinen and Wendell and Daniel Gafford would all trade time doing that. So I think this is a huge, huge move. Nikola Vucevic, who is now a 2-time All-Star after being an All-Star this year and the previous year, that's huge. The Bulls now have 2 All-Stars on the same team, which they haven't had since probably Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah, or maybe Jimmy Butler and Pau Gasol. Yeah, probably Jimmy Butler and Pau Gasol. So it's huge. Al-Farouq Aminu in that trade also brings some guy that you think, if he can get into the rotation, is going to bring some length, some athleticism, some defense to the wing forward positions. So I'm really happy about this. I love Wendell Carter Jr. I think he had great potential, but I think this gives you the opportunity to win now. And it gives you a lot more offensive ability from the big man position, which the Bulls have lacked.
Yeah. So I got the news. I was a little busy this morning and then finally cleared up a little bit. And then I remember FaceTiming you, Brendyn. I took a little bit for me to process. I did. The next thing I really wanted, which I think I focused on, was them getting Lonzo Ball. Obviously, the Pelicans decided to keep Lonzo, which for the Pelicans I think is a good thing. For the Bulls and other suitors, kind of sucks. But anyways, I saw the alert and I had a little bit of time to process. And after that, I was like, wow, this is an amazing trade because I feel like you hear the name Nikola Vucevic and it's not Giannis Antetokounmpo or LeBron James or Kawhi Leonard. But I feel like for people that don't watch the NBA, like don't realize how much of a difference maker this guy really is. Like there's a reason he's a 2-time All-Star, and like him being an All-Star this year, there was no one that was like, oh, that was undeserved.
Right.
Like he's a very, very good player. Obviously, the Bulls are giving up Wendell Carter, someone that I personally actually wasn't a fan of. So he was a little undersized. I know he's lengthy, didn't play a ton of defense. And Otto Porter, he's gone at the end of the year anyways. So now you get a guy in Vucevic who's here until 2023 at least. Pair him up with Zach LaVine, who hopefully is going to re-sign now. And even maybe this could persuade some free agents in the future to come to Chicago, right? Because now you have all-star shooting guard Zach LaVine, all-star center Vucevic, hopefully 2 guys that are going to be all-stars next year too. And if there ends up being, a decent small forward, power forward, point guard on the market, how can you not look in Chicago and be like, dang, they're really growing? So credit to AK, Arturas Karnisovas. Is that how you say his name?
I'm so bad at his last name, so I just call him AK.
Shout out to AK. This was his first big move. I'm happy about it. Daniel Tice for Mo Wagner is probably the biggest, like, besides Fournier for the 2 second-round picks. That was like, how did the Bulls get that? Daniel
I don't
Tice
know. It was weird because
But yeah, credit to AK. Good trade.
Yeah,
Good trade.
Definitely credit to AK. And then we can talk a little bit about Lonzo a little later. But that was weird because they traded I feel like they kind of had this trade in mind, right? It was Troy Brown is his name, and Mo Wagner from Washington, and it was like a little bit like why
garbage for garbage almost, like Daniel Gafford and Chandler Hutchison.
Yeah, I mean, two guys that struggle to get in the rotation, have shown stretches that they can be talented, but struggle to get in the rotation. I'm very confused about that. But then they were able to flip Mo Wagner for Daniel Tice, which the thing that did worry me about the Vucevic trade is that when you trade away Gafford and Wendell Carter, you traded away your only rim protectors, and you didn't get a lot of rim protection back. Daniel Tice is a really good paint defender.
He really is.
And he also is a little bit of a rim runner, which is something that's really, really good when it comes to this second unit that the Bulls have that have been so impactful this year. Having somebody that can continue to play good defense in the paint and somebody that can also rim run and even stretch the floor a little bit, Daniel Tice can. It's very exciting. I couldn't tell you how they were able to swindle Boston like that, but they did. And, now Mo Wagner doesn't even have to move to Chicago. He can go straight up to Boston. Really good.
Yeah, no, I think that obviously when they got Wagner, I think that was assuming they'd trade him for Tice a couple hours later. Yeah. That trade just didn't make a lot of sense to me. That was talking about.
I didn't hate it. I was like, okay,
Troy Brown's decent,
right? And with Wagner, I was like, a pretty big wing. Maybe they'll use that to try to lure or try to get Franz Wagner intrigued if he decides to go to the draft.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mo's not Franz.
Yeah. Franz is definitely a little bit better than Mo was and is a little bit more enticing as an NBA prospect. But, yeah, I mean, this is good. And you said it yourself, man. Like, the fact that they were able to do this is going to be intriguing to free agents. And this is the thing that comes back to Lonzo Ball, right? Lonzo Ball, who is a free agent at the end of this year. Unless I'm mistaken, but I'm like 98% sure.
I think he is. Yeah.
Lonzo Ball, who's a free agent at the end of this year, I really don't see him re-signing with the Pelicans, right? The Pelicans, he's a free agent at the end of this year. The Pelicans experiment that they had going on didn't really work out. Showed flashes that it could be good. I don't think the Pelicans used him in the right way. Obviously, didn't work out with the Lakers. But he's a free agent at the end of the year. And if you can get Lonzo Ball and still keep the core around that it seems like this team wants. Like, it seems like while they're willing to shop Laurie, they don't mind him being on this team. While they're willing to shop Kobe a little bit, they don't mind him being on this team. For the long term, you're not getting away from Levine. You're not obviously getting away from Vucevic now. If you can attract Lonzo Ball in free agency, some guy that isn't a very high level max type player, but some guy that's obviously going to make an impact when they come in. It's going to let you set next year right on the right foot, and I think that's probably. I don't think that they're done with Lonzo Ball. I think they'll definitely offer him in the summer. But I think this team, while they kind of shifted from like middle of a rebuild to like win now mode, or at least make the playoffs mode right now, which they've been flirting with the whole season. This is a really good move for this team. I think that they've set themselves up for not only success this year, but to also, as you said, lure Zach LaVine, try to get him to commit to re-sign early, and lure bigger free agents to come to Chicago to make this team competitive in the East.
It sounds, it's going to be weird for me to say, but I'm also getting like 2 or 3 years ago Denver Nugget type vibes out of this Bulls team now, which would make a ton of sense because of the work AK did over there. But just speaking like, free agency or anything like that, I saw that something else that the Bulls opened up was like $13 million in cap space or something like that.
They were able to clear a lot of cap space. The reason that they were able to get Vucevic is by ditching that Otto Porter contract, which was pretty big for what it was. Also, not having to look to re-sign Wendell, right? Not having to look to re-sign Chandler Hutchison or keep paying Daniel Gafford, even though Daniel Gafford is still on his rookie deal. He's second round guy, so weren't paying him a lot. But you did free up a lot of cap space, and that's going to be important because now you have two guys that you're paying a lot of money in Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic, and you probably will be paying Zach LaVine the max contract when he's up for it, which is after the end of next year.
Which will be well deserved.
Which will be well deserved. And I think he obviously deserves it. But yeah, I mean, that is what it is. And if you can go get you a solid point guard, a playmaking point guard, which is what Lonzo Ball is, or you can go get yourself a really good small forward / power forward, that's going to be great. And I think this team, I'm very, very happy with the direction this team is going. We've seen in the past that the front office was really, really passive on stuff like this. They usually didn't do a lot during the trade deadline. They usually waited to the end of the season to make moves. But I'm very glad that AK and his staff are willing to, shoot the gun and be ready and try to compete, because this is a team we've seen in and out of the playoff picture all year. And they got a lot better after today. So if they can continue that, make a run for 8th, 7th, or 6th seed, then that's progress. And that's what they've been looking forward to all year.
I totally agree. Yeah, and I mean, when rumors of Vucevic potentially being traded started, the Bulls weren't even one of the potential suitors.
I had no idea. Like, when I saw Vucevic to the Bulls, I was like, that's not real. Like, it was weird. It's because you didn't see that happening. You heard Lonzo, you heard a couple other names, but I was like, Vucevic, like, like, that's weird. And I really had to sit down and think about it because I hadn't thought about it, like you said. And yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, I woke up this morning after a long night, I guess, and I was a little busy, so I had to look back kind of at my phone 30 minutes later. I was like, whoa, this really did happen. Like, it just didn't make sense to me. I was like,
right, exactly.
What are they doing? But no, props to them. How hard AK was trying for Lonzo, because when one of those guys like Woj or whoever tweets something along the lines of Bulls in pursuit of Lonzo Ball, it means they really want him. Like, that news has got to be obvious to everyone. The whole league knows it. So you didn't get Lonzo, but hey, you get Vucevic, who's going to be awesome. Pair him with Levine. You got an awesome, in my opinion, like a great bench big in Daniel Tice. Mm-hmm. You clear up some cap. Otto Porter's finally off your hands. Now you got even more money from Boston to set yourself up. So, I mean, I remember I saw a tweet about an hour after the Bulls got Vucevic, and it's Vucevic, by the way, right? Yeah. Okay, just making sure. And it was like, man, like, obviously it was an exaggeration, but it was like, this dude scored like 20 points in 5 minutes against my team the last time we played him, and now he's here.
Yeah,
like, he dominated the Bulls.
He's good. And
he's really good.
It's nice because the biggest issue that the Bulls have had is that they cannot defend the big man. And
no, Embiid, Jokic, Vucevic, all
had just insane, like, some of their best games of the year came, when like they look back and they'll be like I don't think Joel, unless depending on when Joel gets back, right, he might be out of the MVP race. But Nikola Jokic is still very much in it, right? If they look back at their seasons and their like best performances, the Bulls are going to be on a lot of those lists, and it's kind of frustrating because you're like, man, like, if they could only stop, like, in that Sixers game that Embiid had 50, they only lost by like less than 5 points. So it was really frustrating because you're like, if you can guard these bigs a little bit better. Not that Vucevic coming in is just going to change how well the team plays defense against bigs, but it at least gives you something that's the big on the other end is also going to have to work for them. So they don't only have to focus on the offensive end, which is really, really good. I like Vucevic. Vucevic. I'm gonna switch between it. I always have. I like him a lot. I think that not only is he a really, really good post player, he can extend the floor. He can shoot a little bit. And I'm very, very excited. It kind of gives me like, I think that like Pau Gasol when he was on this team was unstoppable in the pick and pop situation. Like, whoever was the ball carrier, you just ran a pick. I found Pau Gasol, and he was just there for that mid-range jumper. That's something that Vucevic is going to do really well. And now that the Bulls have, maybe like a top 7 scorer in the league right now in Zach LaVine, it's going to make that even more dangerous because you have 2 guys that you really, really have to be like, okay, like, what are we going to do in this situation? I would be terrified to guard that 2-man game against the pick and roll against Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic. So I'm happy, man. I'm happy. It was a long time coming that the Bulls finally made a move. Obviously, you hate to see, or at least for me, I hate to see guys that I really liked and thought had potential go. But look, if it's going to help you win now, it's going to help you win now, and that's what this move is for.
Yeah, I agree. And just last thing before, because I assume we're going to talk about some other trades from the day, but listen, at the end of the day, you got the best guy out there that got traded. I know that VO to the Heat's probably in second place, but at the end of the day, you did get the best. And no, Vucevic is not a superstar. He's not one of the top 5 players in the league. But right now, this is the best that any team could do, and the Bulls did it.
Yeah.
So congrats to Vucevic. You're in Chicago. Congrats to AK. Congrats to the Bulls. Congrats to Zach LaVine. You got a teammate. Like,
yeah,
I'm really happy for him. Good job. Good job, Bulls.
Zach LaVine's very happy. You saw him post on his Instagram the picture of him and Vooch at the All-Star game. As we move on to other trades, did you know that there are 3 players in the NBA named Gary? Only 3.
Gary, and they all got
traded,
traded,
name
didn't
them?
they?
Yeah.
Gary Trent, Gary Clark, and Gary Harris.
Yeah. All 3 of them got traded today. Isn't that wild?
What? That's so weird.
That's so weird. The NBA is weird. But yeah, that was insane. You mentioned it a little earlier. Let's talk about this Victor Oladipo trade.
Yeah.
Victor Oladipo, who's 2 years removed from being an All-Star, tore his ACL at the beginning of last season. Some guy who's definitely had his ups and downs in his career. Was in the 3-team package for James Harden, ended up on the Rockets, is now a member of the Miami Heat along with Goran Dragic, Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, Bam Adebayo, and now Victor Oladipo. Props to the Heat, man. They were a team that a lot of people were eyeing to make a trade because they have the 2 kind of stars in Bam Adebayo, Jimmy Butler. But when it comes to the guys around them, it's kind of like, I don't know. Jimmy Butler, I love him, but he's not the guy that's going to go get you 30 every night. You know what I mean? He can definitely 100%, but he's not that guy. And Bam Adebayo is also not really that guy. So they don't really have a defined like scoring superstar, right? So a lot of people were like, man, you got to go get a trade. You got to go this and that. And what they really didn't want to do was separate from Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson. They're 2 young players that showed up big, especially throughout the playoffs last year. And as it came down to the trade deadline, people thought that they weren't going to make a move. And because of Victor Oladipo's expiring contract, which happens at the end of the year, he's been vocal that he doesn't want to be on the Rockets. They were able to get him for not nothing, but pretty next to nothing. I think Avery Bradley is some guy who's not what he used to be when he was on the Celtics back in the mid 2010s. And Kelly Olynyk is a guy that you can definitely live without if that's your team. And I think the Heat did a phenomenal job in getting that. Also, something else to watch, the Spurs are reaching buyout with LaMarcus Aldridge.
Is going to go over there.
Who's also very favored to go to the Heat. If you can add LaMarcus Aldridge to that team, I don't know. It's an X factor. I mean, like LaMarcus Aldridge is one of the best post players of the last 15 years. Victor Oladipo, if he can reach what he was 2 years ago on the Pacers team, who kind of pushed LeBron to the edge of the Eastern Conference or the Eastern Conference semifinals when he was there. This could be a scary team. This could be a team that, although they struggled in the beginning of the year, is right back up there in the top 4 of the East, and can make a push to do something similar to what they did last year and try to make the finals.
Yeah, I think, I don't think that this makes the Heat the best team in the East.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that being said, they are coming off an Eastern Conference Finals. To me, even if they do, especially end up adding LaMarcus Aldridge, it kind of seems like a 2K rebuild team to me.
Yeah, 100%.
Like,
yeah,
VO, he's very good defensively, right? So you do this move for defensive reasons. I really like it, and it's good for the Heat. I don't think I would have done anything different if I were in their shoes. But that being said, this doesn't put them above the 76ers if they're healthy. Yeah. It doesn't put them above the Nets, and it surely doesn't put them above the Bucks. So, but 100%. That being said, if the Bulls make the playoffs and they're the 5 seed, I don't want to face a 4 seed Heat. Like, they're going to be really, really good, especially with Jimmy Butler and VO.
I would never want to face Jimmy Butler in the playoffs.
Yeah,
especially if I'm the Bulls. Not that he has any sort of resentment towards the Bulls, but Jimmy Butler always has a prove-it attitude, and you would know he would come out stronger against, a team like that. But
I think, is it a good trade? Yes, they didn't give up a lot. If I'm in Miami, I'm happy. It doesn't make them that much better, but it makes them a little better. So good job.
100% what you said. It makes them defensively better. And if Victor Oladipo can get back to his scoring nature, is what he was 2 years ago, it gives them another option right there. When you look at this team, they're very ISO dominated, right? Like Jimmy Butler is really good in the ISO, even though he doesn't love to do it a lot. He's really good in the ISO. Dragic is very good in the ISO, even though he's also a playmaker. It gives them another scoring option that's ISO that's like very ISO, but also can play within a team. They have a lot of guys that are very like flexible and fundamental, and like they're flexible in the way they play, and I think that's what makes this team really good, really dangerous, and also like just a lot of experience. I mean, Jimmy Butler has a lot of playoff experience. LaMarcus Aldridge has a lot of experience. Victor Oladipo has been through the league and has done his thing. So definitely not a team that anybody really wants to play in the playoffs. But I'm with you. It definitely doesn't make them better than the Nets. Definitely not the Sixers, who I think are the best team in the league, have continued to be great without Joel Embiid, and they're not above the Bucks. So it'll be interesting. But it does make the top four in the East that much more separate from the bottom. What would that be? The bottom 9.
Yeah.
Or 11.
I wonder, I'm still one of those people that thinks the Celtics are going to pick it up eventually. I really am.
Do you?
Yeah.
I just don't see it.
How are Kemba Walker,
I agree.
Jason Brown, and Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum failing this bad?
I agree. I think I don't know, but I was a guy that it reminds me of when Kyrie Irving's second year on the team, because his first year was pretty good, right? And he gets injured early. But at the beginning, it's pretty good. But then Kyrie and Gordon Hayward come back at the same time that second year. And you're always saying, it's like, they shouldn't be this bad. Like, they're going to turn it on. They're going to turn it on. And they end up losing in the playoffs pretty early. I think this is a team that has an immense set of talent. But I think that they also, now that Jaylen Brown has ascended and Kemba Walker is still, Kemba Walker, I think they need to figure out how to play with each other. I also think that they have an issue with guarding big men, kind of like the Bulls, that they need to figure out before the playoffs. And
getting rid of Daniel Tice definitely
did not help at all. So yeah, but I agree with you. They're another team that I don't want to face in the playoffs just because I'd have to see Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, who've been, I mean, this is Jason Tatum's 4th year in the league.
Has it been that long already? Wow.
His rookie year
was right.
LeBron's last year on the Cavs.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's why LeBron went to the Lakers, because he saw Jason Tatum.
Wait, so this is
just kidding.
His first year was LeBron's last year on the Cavs, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is his 4th year. Jaylen Brown it's his 5th year. Each year they've been to the playoffs. They have an immense amount of playoff experience for how young that they are. Kemba Walker is very, very seasoned. And yeah, this is a team that you don't want to face in the playoffs, but it's also a team that if they had to play the Sixers, they don't scare me. Even if they had to play the Heat, they don't scare me. Like what the Heat did to the Celtics last year. And last year the Celtics were better.
Who do you think is the absolute worst matchup for the Bulls right now in the playoffs?
Pretty much anybody. Any of the top 4, I don't even want to think about which one is harder. Brooklyn would cook them. The 76ers would cook them.
I think for me it goes Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and then Philadelphia.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd rather play. Well, I don't want to play either of them, but I'd rather play Philadelphia or Brooklyn or not Brooklyn, Milwaukee over Philadelphia and Brooklyn, because Brooklyn I think is number 1, just because when it comes to the playoffs they're just going to be insanely good. 2 is Philly because of how well-rounded their team is. And, I mean, Tobias Harris is playing as good as he has in 4 years. And when he plays good, that team wins. So if he can put together playoffs, I think that they can pretty much almost go undefeated, maybe lose 2 or 3 games throughout the first 3 rounds of the playoffs until they really have to face some competition. And then, I mean, Milwaukee, the reason they're 3rd but still, don't want to play them at all, I feel like you've seen the formula to figure out Milwaukee in the playoffs, and they don't seem like that much of a different team this year. So if the Bulls could just study what other people have done and try to shut them down, but obviously the Bulls aren't as defensively talented as the teams that Giannis has played in the playoffs.
The only thing I disagree with about that is that I don't think Milwaukee is the same team. I truly believe that Drew Holiday got this team to the next level.
I think that Drew Holiday adds a whole different layer, but I also don't. They're not as successful as I thought they were going to be when they picked up Drew Holiday. I thought that they were the best team in the league when they picked up Drew Holiday. That's because they were always a point guard away, and I thought Drew Holiday brought that to him. Whether that's regular season fatigue from guys like Giannis and Chris Middleton, who know that when it comes to the playoffs, that's what really matters, or it's just they're struggling because the Eastern Conference is a little bit stronger this year. Whatever that may be, but until they can prove it to me in the playoffs, I'm still scared of the team that has 2, former MVPs, and the team that if he was not injured would be the front runner in the MVP, Joel Embiid.
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm with you.
Well, that's going to lead us to our first break. When we get back, I'm not sure what we're going to talk about yet. Me and Josh are going to discuss it. But stick with us. It'll definitely be sports related. Line on Drive, 107.1 WPGU. Welcome back to Illini Drive on 107.1 WPGU. Might not be what you guys want to hear, but the NCAA tournament is still happening with or without Illinois. Basketball, definitely without. I don't know why I said with. Maybe they figured out that Loyola cheated. Do you think if they figured out Loyola cheated, right? Or not figured out, because I'm not accusing them of cheating. But if something came out and be like, Loyola cheated in that game and, like, put, like, laxatives in Illinois' Gatorade or something like that. Some, like, real old school stuff. Do you think they'd invite Illinois back to the tournament?
Yeah, they'd get it. I wouldn't want it, but they'd get it. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to figure something out. Sister Jean, watch out.
Sister Jean.
Anywho, so there are 8 games this weekend. It's the Sweet 16. Loyola Chicago, the Illinois Conquerors, are playing Oregon State, 2 teams that have upsetted their way to the Sweet 16. Baylor plays Villanova later that day. Then Arkansas will look to crush Oral Roberts, and then on Saturday, and then Houston will play Syracuse. You want to pick the games?
Yep, I'm filling out a second chance bracket as we speak.
Illinois deserves a second chance. I think that, okay, so here's my thing for that game, right? The Loyola Chicago versus Oregon State. Loyola Chicago, who in all reality is much better than an 8 seed, should probably be around a 4 seed type competition. I think they're going to really beat up on Oregon State. I think one thing that Oklahoma State didn't do was play good defense on Oregon State. And, I mean, we saw Loyola just clamp Illinois at all aspects of their game. So I think Loyola handles this and punches their ticket to the Elite Eight game.
I totally agree. I think Loyola's going to win. 63-51, like barely. Oregon State get to 50 points. I mean, Oregon State doesn't have a superstar, which never helps, but if they did, Loyola would lock them down. So, yeah, I really like Loyola here too.
Baylor versus Villanova. Give me Baylor.
For sure, Baylor.
I don't really have a issue with that. It hurts that Illinois is the only 1 seed not still in the tournament. But Arkansas versus Oral Roberts. Give me Oral Roberts.
I'm going to go Arkansas, but that'd be the coolest thing I've ever seen if Oregon.
They'd be the first
gets through
to ever make it to the Elite Eight.
Arkansas is beatable, but Musselman's a really, really, really good coach. So
I don't see it happening, but I would love to sit there at that day and watch that.
Yeah.
Houston versus Syracuse. I'm gonna let you pick first.
Oh, I'm definitely going Syracuse here for
Me
sure.
Too. Me too.
I think that what's his name? The Houston coach is a scum. He is, dude. He has recruiting violations all over his name.
Mm-hmm.
He took Eric Gordon away from Illinois. I mean, yeah, screw that guy. Mm-hmm. Jim Boeheim's also not the greatest person in the world.
Yeah, I feel like pretty much a lot of coaches in the college basketball world could be recruit violators if it really came down to it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, give me Syracuse, man. I mean,
for sure,
another team that didn't have the greatest regular season, but are in the tournament. And whenever you have that much experience on a team, it is what it is, man. And I'm very excited for that game.
I like Syracuse for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely Syracuse. And then on Sunday, we get to see Gonzaga versus Creighton. How do you feel about that game?
I just feel bad for Creighton after this awesome run. They have to run into Gonzaga. It sucks.
I hate Gonzaga.
Gonzaga by 30.
Okay, cool. And then Michigan versus Florida State. Does Michigan continue?
Nah, Florida State for sure. I love Leonard Hamilton. I love what Florida State brings to the table. They've looked pretty good. They had that little scare against Greensboro, but that doesn't faze me. I like Florida State here for sure.
Give me Michigan. Give me Michigan, bro. I want to see a Big Ten team make it because they've had a tough tournament. Alabama versus UCLA.
UCLA, 100%.
Pick UCLA.
Yeah. I'll give you a little. I'll sneak peek my Final Four. I do have UCLA in there. I just think that they're a cool story, and I like their little run.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Give me Alabama though, Roll Tide. And then USC versus Oregon, which will probably be the game of the day.
I was just about to say this is the game of the weekend, for sure. I've gone back and forth on this a lot, but I think you have to go USC here.
Really?
They've beaten Oregon 3 times, or 3 of their losses were to the same team, I think. Something like that. They lost at USC by 14. Oregon did. Yeah, for sure. Give me Evan Mobley here and the boys.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was watching USC for really the first time when they were playing. Whoever they played in their last game. I can't even remember. But what the Mobley brothers are just insanely good. Like Evan Mobley, who's going to be probably the number 2, number 3 pick of the NBA draft. Insanely good around the rim offensively. Defensively is crazy. And then his brother went like 5 for 5 from 3 before he missed a shot.
Yeah.
Give me that team. That's scary. Another game I want to talk about that happened Saturday, a little bit before the Loyola Oregon State game, is Iowa women's basketball versus Connecticut women's basketball.
Paige Buchers versus the I'm going to forget her
Caitlin
name.
Clark.
There you go, Caitlin Clark.
So for those who don't know, Caitlin Clark is a freshman at Iowa, obviously, and Luka Garza scored 36 points his last game when they were losing to Oregon. Caitlin Clark the next day put up 35. She's a hooper, and she's only a freshman.
Her and Paige Buchers, the UConn freshmen, are the 2 best freshmen in the country.
Are the 2 best freshmen in the country. They get to see each other. Paige is somebody who I think is going to be, like, when it's all said and done, like, injury aside, hopefully she stays healthy. But if she stays healthy for her whole career, one, she's going to win multiple national championships at UConn. But then further that in the WNBA, she's going to end up being one of the best women's basketball players to ever play the game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she was the consensus #1 player in America. She might have won Gatorade Athlete of the Year, period, like not just basketball.
Yeah, I think she did.
She's special. Yeah, dude. Because I remember I was thinking about like Breanna Stewart. Women typically stay all 4 years, right, in college.
I don't know if they have to, though.
4 years of Paige Buchers.
Yeah. I think they have to. Like, most of them do. Especially to get that degree as well.
Yeah.
Because women's basketball isn't the most lucrative professional sport. But if she stays all 4 years, which she should, she's going to win multiple national championships, much like anybody who goes to the women's basketball program at UConn. And it's going to be so fun. She plays the game differently than anybody else. And she plays so fast-paced. She's such a playmaker, but at the end of the day, she's just a bucket. She's so good. And as she gets older, as she gets more experience, she's just going to grow in her abilities and stuff. And it's just going to be so insane to watch. I'm watching that game Saturday morning. That's 2 days from now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at a WNBA mock draft right now, and neither Caitlin Clark nor Paige Buchers
are so I assume they're – well, yeah, I'm assuming they're staying. But, I mean, in 2 or 3 years – or 3 years when they do go to the NBA draft, like these – as long as they stay healthy, like these 2 girls should go, like, both in the top 3.
Speaking of the WNBA, don't the Chicago Sky have, like, a powerhouse team now? They have, like, the
they
first
just got
super team. Candace Parker.
Yeah, they got Candace Parker.
You know, she grew up like 5 minutes from me.
Really?
I went to Naperville North. She went to Naperville Central.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, Candace Parker, for as long as she's been in the WNBA, has been like just great, phenomenal. She's, I think, 13-year veteran. And last year she won Defensive Player of the Year.
She's still good.
Yeah, she's still really good. She's also setting herself up for a nice broadcasting career after she's done. Hopefully, it seems like she's gonna retire in Chicago. You don't sign like a deal that late in your career, especially at your hometown, if you're not going to retire.
She'll be on TNT, right?
Yeah, she's already on TNT. I mean, she's amazing. I love Candace
awesome.
Parker. She's amazing, and I'm so glad. Hopefully, the Sky are a little bit better. They haven't been great since Elena Delle Donne left 3 or 4 years ago. She was my favorite. I loved EDD, and she went to the Mystics. So that was tough. But yeah, I'm excited about the state of women's basketball. I know we don't really have a great women's basketball team to cheer for. But it's exciting. I don't know if you watched the Texas A&M Iowa State game. Me and Gabby were watching that and went down to overtime. And I forget her name, but she hit the game winner and then had this very, very emotional speech that was all over ESPN, SportsCenter, all that. It was great, man. It was great. It was nice to see. But I'm excited about this game.
Yeah, good. All right, we got to keep going with our picks then.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about picks. We just picked them all.
But yeah, but we have future rounds, Brendan. We got to predict the rest of the way here.
All right, let's go then.
All right, who do we both take Gonzaga and USC?
I
think we did.
Yes,
all right,
we did.
So who are you taking in the West?
Gonzaga, USC. How can you pick against them? Give me Gonzaga.
For sure. Go over to the South. I have Baylor, Arkansas. You have Baylor, Oral Roberts.
Give me Baylor.
Yeah.
But even if it was Arkansas, give me Baylor.
Same. We both have Loyola, Chicago, Syracuse.
Ooh, that's going to be a really good game if that happens.
It is.
Oh, that's going to be
Loyola's going to have a lot of trouble scoring, but so is Syracuse.
Yeah. That's going to be like a very defensive, ugly, like people are going to be like, this is boring, but I'm going to be like, oh my God, like the defense in this game is insane.
I mean, Loyola's my second favorite team by far. So
yeah, I mean, we got to stick it in the state, right? I mean, that's the team that beat us. That's the team we're riding with until they lose. Give me Loyola, man.
Me too. All right, then you have Michigan, Alabama. I have UCLA, Florida State.
I'm going to take Michigan in that game. Alabama just doesn't scare me as much. But, I mean, it's also, I don't know, the Big Ten I've lost confidence in the Big Ten, so we'll see. But that'd be so boring, 3-1 seeds. And when's the last time that even happened?
A while ago.
Yeah, that's so boring. I'm boring.
I'm going to take UCLA. They should get crushed against Alabama and if they play Florida State, but, like, who cares?
Imagine if there's a UCLA 11 seed and, like, I mean, it's either going to be, I mean, unless Houston beats Syracuse and then beats Loyola or Oregon State, it's either going to be an 11 or 8 seed in the Final Four. It'll be 11, 11, and 8, or it's wild.
Give me UCLA.
This has been a weird tournament. Not even I don't know. It's just been weird. How do you feel about this tournament?
Before we get into the Final Four,
like how do you like it? Has it been good for you?
It was ruined when Illinois lost.
Right. But outside of being an Illinois fan,
it was ruined when Illinois lost. Dude.
Okay, yeah, I know.
Sorry, I can't give you a straight answer.
That's valid. That is for me too, because this was the first time I really had a dog in the fight. Like the only thing I really care about, because I wasn't a huge college basketball fan until March Madness, like every year until March Madness happened. So like I could always like ride on my bracket, but my bracket sucks this year, and Illinois is not in it. So I don't care about any of these teams enough to really care about it. But I think it's been wonky. Like I love that UCLA and Syracuse are in there still. I love that Oral Roberts is in there, right? I love that
Abilene Christian was fun. We watched that.
Abilene Christian, yeah, I love that. And Loyola and Oregon State, like, come on, like that's amazing. But we'll see.
All right, you have Gonzaga and Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, this is a tough one.
Yeah.
If Isaiah Livers played, I would say Michigan, but he's not playing, so I'm gonna say.
For sure, give me Gonzaga over UCLA.
Did you? Oh, I was like, I didn't pick against UCLA, but because I had Michigan in mind. Yeah, if UCLA plays Gonzaga, it's over. But I think Michigan could have a chance if they played their best game with Isaiah Livers. But Isaiah Livers not being there really takes away from their 3-point scoring ability. They're gonna have to. A lot of guys are gonna have to raise their ceiling on that team to beat Gonzaga, much like any other team would. But I think without Livers, they just don't have enough.
Yep. All right, we both have Baylor and Loyola.
Man, as much as I would love to see Loyola get revenge, and not get revenge on Baylor, but like, because they were up in the Final Four game against Michigan, lost the lead, and obviously lost their chance to make the national championship. As much as I would love to see them come back and make a national championship, I just don't see it. I think Baylor wins, and it's going to be the Baylor-Gonzaga game that we missed out on because of COVID in the beginning of the season.
I will say this about this Baylor-Loyola game. A lot of people said going into it that Illinois and Loyola played the same way. No. Baylor and Loyola play the same way. Baylor's just bigger. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. This could be like a 50-45 game. Right? Do you remember when UConn and Butler played the national championship and it was like 19-17 at halftime or something?
Yeah.
That's going to be one of those games. I also have Baylor, though, for sure. And then it sets up the game of the year.
Baylor versus Gonzaga. It's going to be the storylines, the game we were cheated against. Imagine if Baylor continued their undefeated until this moment.
I know. They didn't get COVID besides that Gonzaga game. We had the literal game of the decade.
Yeah. It's wild. Maybe we'll see it come together today. But me and Josh have to dip out of here a little bit early.
Wait, who are you taking?
Oh, I told you. Oh, I didn't tell you.
No, you didn't.
Oh.
Oops.
Oops. I look stupid. Okay, let's break down this game, right? We've seen a lot of Gonzaga. We've seen a lot of Baylor. Look, Gonzaga, they're amazing on offense. They lead the nation in scoring for a reason. They have 3 weapons that are legitimate, like college basketball, great talents. 2 of them I think are going to be really good in the NBA. And then they have the supplemental pieces that really helps them work. They're undefeated for a reason, right? Baylor, on the other hand, has one of the best defenses in the nation and has done that. Have they faltered a little bit in recent games, of course, especially to close out their season, Kansas, Oklahoma State. But I think this is also a team that's built for this moment, and it's gonna be a dogfight. Gonzaga's not going to go get 95, right? It'll probably be I think like a 78, 81 type game. Comes down to the wire. Hopefully we get a buzzer beater. Hopefully something crazy. But I see Gonzaga taking it. Getting the only undefeated season since Indiana in the 70s.
I don't know who I'll root for, but I surely have Gonzaga winning. I have 87-80 in my score prediction, which probably is a little high, but it's all right. Anything could happen. I mean, dude, if Kispert, Suggs, Timmy, if 2 of the 3 of them get going, it's over.
Yeah, and that's what it is. They literally this is the best all-around team in college basketball. And they have legitimate NBA talent. They have really good college talent. They're coached well, and they're on a roll, man. And they also had the easiest, path in March Madness to the championship. I mean, there's not a lot to say about Gonzaga except for, I think that they're gonna finish the season undefeated.
It'd be cool.
It would be cool.
First time since '76. Bobby Knight's Indiana.
Bobby Knight, man, he was crazy.
Dude, he was nuts.
Wow, remember he threw that chair.
Weird guy. Yeah, I do remember I don't remember it. But
neither of us were alive, but
do you know Larry Bird went to Indiana and he couldn't handle Bobby Knight, so that's why I went to Indiana State.
How long was Larry Bird at Indiana?
Couple days.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's why the Sycamores are the greatest. Love Larry Bird. Huge Larry Bird fan. But that's gonna wrap up our show. Shout out Larry Bird. I know you're out there listening.
For sure.
In Indiana somewhere. But for me, for Josh, we'll catch you next week on the Illini Drive, 107.1 WPGU.